It wasn't pretty, but the Celtics got the job done, and now they're one win away from the conference finals. Let's talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster Brand, it's holiday season. Drop Jrue in the mix, and 3 from KP. No, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Deuce, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in locked on after. Karalis on the breakdown. Clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Raina J's how it started, raising business, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here in the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every single day, Monday through Friday, with a free, fresh podcast that drops directly to your device when you subscribe. So do so, get onto the YouTube page, ring the bell there, get notified when I drop new videos, and get into the comment section. I am John Karalis, if you're new to the show. I used to play a long time ago. Now I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I was at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, but that arena is being converted to hockey and all of that. So I am back at my hotel room, a nice, generic, very hostage-looking background, but I am only hostage to basketball. That is a terrible transition. I apologize for that. Wow, was that terrible. But also somewhat terrible was this basketball game for the Boston Celtics, and it really risked being terrible for the entirety of the game. But the Celtics managed to pull out this win, 109-102. Not pretty, but it's a win. It's a close win. They needed a close game. They pulled out a close game. Hey, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get more. So let's just start with that. No Donovan Mitchell, and sort of predictable, right? That this Celtics team would come out and be like, oh, we're not going to be as focused. And 8-2 run. And Joe Mazzulla calls a timeout and gets them refocused. And they answer with a big run of their own and get the lead up to 13 at one point, but that back and forth, and they could never quite pull away. They got the lead up to 15 in the fourth quarter with just under 8 minutes to go, and you thought maybe this was going to be where they end up coasting to the finish, but nope. The Cavs, to their credit, kept it close, took advantage of a couple of Celtics defensive miscues, and got it down to single digits. But after they got it down to 5, the Celtics clamped down on defense. I think it was one made basket over the last almost 2 minutes, not counting the Karalis LeVert jumper at the very end, which didn't really mean anything unless you took the Celtics minus 8.5. That brought the Celtics lead from 9 down to 7 and probably swung a lot of bets in the casino's favor. So I'm sure Karalis LeVert's mentions are going to be full of very, very reasonably minded gamblers. So obviously the Celtics didn't come out strong. Bunch of turnovers, 6 turnovers for 10 points in the first quarter. Mazzulla was asked about the poise because he said we played with poise later in the game. We played with effort at the beginning, but no poise, effort and poise later on. And we were like, well, what poise did you need at the beginning? And he said, passing to guys with the green shirts. That was basically it. Just pass the ball to the guys in the green shirts. And he was like, I'm serious. The passes were getting deflected, were getting thrown out of bounds. The Celtics were making terrible passes. They were just playing with their heads up somewhere and not focused on the basketball court. And they turned the ball over a bunch. And the Cavs, to their credit, took advantage of that. They hit a bunch of 3-pointers. They got hot early. One of the reasons why Mazzulla called a timeout was because Max Strus was getting free on in transition, and that just that was not very conducive to good basketball. So the Celtics gave up a bunch of threes. The Cavs in the first half hit 11 of 25 but they've only finished 15 of 48. So they were 1 of 10 in the third quarter. They were three of 13 in the fourth. 2 of them came in that stretch right down towards the end, where they, the Celtics had just a couple of defensive mistakes. So credit to the Cavs, right? Credit to the Cavs for fighting. Donovan Mitchell was out. This is an opportunity for Darius Garland, an opportunity for Dean Wade, an opportunity for Max Strus, all of those guys. And, to Garland's credit, he was firing, man. He put up 30 points. He shot 13 3-pointers. He was 4 of 13 from 3. Not great, but 12 of 27 overall. Not bad. 7 assists, a couple of steals, a couple of turnovers, but overall, he was a +1. Darius Garland was actually not horrible. You want to get more on Darius Garland's game, I'm sure you can go to Locked On Cavs and get their take on that. But look, Karis LeVert did some damage. Evan Mobley did some damage. Max Strus did some damage. He was 5 of 9 from 3. The bench, I think, was one of the big reasons why the Celtics were able to pull this out. 22 points off the bench for Pritchard, Cornette, and Hauser versus 17 points for Dean Wade, Sam Merrill, George Niang, and Tristan Thompson. So the bench comes through. The Celtics got to the free throw line a lot, 21 of 24 versus 5 for 7. So the Celtics were attacking, and they got to the free throw line a lot. The Cavs fans did not like a lot of those opportunities the Celtics were getting, but the Celtics drew a ton of fouls, lived at the line, and being plus 16 at the free throw line in a game you won by 7, that's a big deal. Jayson Tatum was 7 of 9. Jaylen Brown was 7 of 9. Jayson Tatum was 9 of 9. So they took 18 of the 24, and just a couple for Derek White, Payton Pritchard, Luke Cornette. And, Jaylen missed the first couple, and then he hit the next 7. So not bad for him overall. And Tatum, 9 of 9, like I said. They combined, Tatum and Brown did, for 60 points in this game. It was the second straight game where Jaylen, in his career, that he's done that. Tatum had 33, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists. He's the third Celtic to go 30, 10, and 5, at least 30, 10, and 5. Larry Bird, and check of the other, that's pretty good. Pretty good company, I'd say. And not only that, he was the first Celtic to games. So, hey, the Celtics, they did the job. They won it. They went to Cleveland and won 2 games in the road. It's the same formula as the Miami series. You split at home. For some reason, you can't win a game 2. You go on the road. You have you win 2 road games. And now you head home and you hopefully close this out, because the Pacers and the Knicks are going at least 6. So if the Celtics can win this in 5 on Monday, that would, today is Monday, or was Monday. If they can do that on Wednesday, then the Knicks and the Pacers could potentially end on Thursday. There's still time you have to wait for the Western Conference Series. Everybody else is 2-2. Boston is up 3-1. Everybody else is 2-2. So there's a lot to figure out, and you got to start both conference finals around the same time, because they don't want to give one team from one conference an outlier level of rest if they can avoid it. Now, if the Celtics take on the Pacers or the Knicks and they sweep and the other series goes 7, hey, so be it. That's how it goes. But if the Celtics, if go 6 or 7 and both series go 6 or 7, they want them to both end at about the same time. So that's another story for another day. Right now, the Celtics are up 3-1. Jaylen, Jayson were great. So was Jrue Holiday. We'll talk about Jrue Holiday, and we'll talk about the Celtics as human beings when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook for good reason, because they give you, the new customer, $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. So you could have just taken the Celtics to win. Basic money line bet. You put down $5. I don't know what the spread, what the return on that was, but it doesn't matter. As long as it wins, you get $150 in bonus bets if you do so at FanDuel.com/lockedon. You got to go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. If you're a new customer, you sign up, you go through that process, and you place that one bet, you win, and you can bet on anything: spreads, money lines, player props, anything you want. It's all there. NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, anything you want across the board, it's there. So check it out at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make sure you use the tools that they have available to set your limits, to set your parameters, set your budget. It's fun to do this and have some, spend some of your disposable income on this. You can set your limits so you can make sure you're gambling responsibly at FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube and the Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's all the big stories, all the big analysis, all the big opinions, without all the screaming. You don't want screaming. You want rational human discussion, people giving you good takes, and you can find it on Locked On Sports today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube and the Amazon Fire TV channels app. All right, back to the game. And Jrue Holiday had another fantastic performance: 16 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. It's either Jrue or Derek White. Now, Derek White did not have a great shooting night. 5 points, 1 of 6, 1 of 4 from 3. But he did have his own 7 rebounds. He had 3 assists. He had a steal. He was a +5. Holiday was a +6. The only negative on the board there was Luke Cornett, who was okay, but played a few more extra minutes early on, so Al Horford didn't take too much of a brunt. Horford only played 28 minutes. A side note: he's now 0 for his last 10 from 3, 0 for 4 in this game. We need to see Al Horford dropping some threes. You just got to have it, because it's okay now, because they don't need him to hit the threes for them to beat the Cavs. He's going to have to hit a few at some point. Maybe when Porzingis comes back, and we did see Porzingis at shoot around. He's moving better than he was again, in the last time we saw him, which was before the series started, or maybe in between games, where he was out there and he wasn't even getting off the floor. Now he's progressing to like little light jumping off the floor, and he's moving. He's actually moving around. I'm not saying he's sprinting. I'm not saying he's playing great basketball or anything like that. I'm just saying that Porzingis is moving around, and from what I could tell, didn't have a wrap on the right calf, but I thought I could see a little kinesio tape on the back of his leg through the sock, which is fine, right? That's just when you're recovering from that, you put the kinesio. That's what it's supposed to be for. And so I think that's the only thing he had. He looked fine. Hopefully he comes back and he can hit some shots and take some of the pressure off of Al Horford, because Al is in a little bit of a slump. He's 0 for his last 10 from 3. But Holiday played 43 minutes and was great. He was all over the floor. He hit some huge shots. And look, this is what the Celtics need, right? One of these other guys has to step up and help. Holiday was one of the guys who stepped up. Payton Pritchard was another guy who stepped up. Pritchard, I think, had one of those. I love when people are tweeting this stuff at me, because it means my message is getting through. Clutch play doesn't always come in the last 5 minutes of the game. The Celtics did have clutch play in the last 5 minutes, but clutch into the third quarter, where the Celtics up 5, Pritchard draws a foul, hits 2 free throws, comes down, hits a step back 3, onions on that 3, man. He hits that 5-0 run, personal 5-0 run. The Celtics go into the fourth up 10. They'd push that lead to 15, and they'd kind of hold on from there. That was a huge stretch for Payton Pritchard. So got to give him the shout out there. Clutch play down the stretch from the Celtics. Jaylen Brown hits a three where he had to actually push the referee aside. That was not great. Hey, Tyler Ford, get out of the way. What are you doing walking straight down the logo? You got to understand, like the ref walking down the side. You got to be on the sideline, buddy. You got to be on the sideline, not walking down like the slot. You got Jaylen moves him out of the way. And this is not nothing, right? This is Jaylen moves him out of the way. He's coming up to give Jayson Tatum more space and to get into position to shoot a big three-pointer. If he didn't see Tyler Ford, then he could have bumped into him and not been in position to catch the pass. The pass could have flown out of bounds. It's a 5-point game with 1:10 left. Who knows what happens if that's a turnover? Who knows what happens if Jaylen Brown trips and falls and it's a turnover? Who knows what happens if he trips and falls and hurts himself? That would have been the ultimate worst case scenario. Get out of the way, Tyler Ford. I'm not even kidding. Like, that needs to be discussed. That needs to be like, he needs to have like some level of discipline there from the league or from the officiating, whomever, Monty McCutcheon. That's might seem minor, but like you're in the way and you got to know better. He's just staring at Jayson Tatum. Like, be aware of your surroundings. But anyway, Jaylen hits the big shot. Tatum hits a big shot. So they had some clutch play, but defensively, I thought the Celtics were really good down the stretch. And hey, this is where the it's not pretty, but you gotta get the wins somehow, right? It's 1st to 4, right? You hear that all the time, 1st to 4. And it doesn't matter how you get to the 4, just get to the 4. These are not precursors. We want to always connect everything here. And I'll get into the human nature element of this, but these are not all precursors to something. We look around the league. Denver looked horrible at home. The Timberwolves looked amazing. Defensively, they were off the charts. What was that a precursor to? Nothing. Minnesota went home. Denver won twice. That's not connected. Things aren't connected the way we want them to be. And when it comes to the Celtics and winning these playoff series, people talking about why this should have been a sweep. I can't believe this is going to be in 5 games. Like, we have to calm down a little bit here because that's not how this works. We'll sit here and I'll talk about, hey, the Hawks are in town, like in December or January. The Hawks are in town. It's a 2-game, back-to-back. They're here for 2 games. Yeah, it's always hard to beat those teams twice, so they might split those games. And no one blinks. No one bats an eye at the potential for splitting 2 games because, you play a team twice in a row. It's hard to beat them twice in a row. And we think that in the regular season, and yet in the playoffs when the teams are better, we think nothing of saying, well, they should win 4 games in a row, right? Or 4 out of 5. Like that's a lot to ask a team to do. So not only do people want that, they want style points with it. And like I said, I'll get into the human nature of it in a second, but there are no style points. The Celtics pulled out this win. They got this win. They gutted it out. They didn't start great. They didn't play great, but they finished really well, and they made the plays they need to, and they are up 3-1. No other team in the league is up 3-1. Every other series is 2-2. So the Celtics are on the verge of taking care of business, going home for a Game 5 and closing this out and resting for a few days. Horford's rest. Porzingis can get a little time to try to get back. Everybody can rest whatever little bumps and bruises that they have, and you can just keep moving forward here. So not the prettiest win, but it is a win. It is a close win. The Celtics won a tight game, a clutch game, and that's it. That's the end. Credit to the Cavs for pushing the Celtics. The Celtics allowed them to get comfortable, and they stayed comfortable for a long time. So that's that. We're going to come back with the human nature thing and in an exchange that I had with Joe Mazzulla before the game. That's coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. It's America's #1 fantasy sports app. There are more than 3 million people playing on Prize Picks. You should be one of them, but you're not playing against any of them. It's just you and the projections. You pick more, you pick less. It's that easy. They set the projection, Jayson Tatum points, whatever it's set at, you pick more or less. If you win, if you get it right, you win. String enough of those wins together, and you can win some major prizes. You can string as few as 4 correct picks together, and you can turn $10 into 1,000. Basketball, hockey, college sports, it's all there. Plus international sports, WNBA, big WNBA season starting up. Caitlin Clark, all of that. It's very interesting stuff. You want to be involved in that? It's all on Prize Picks, so go check it out. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA or use the code LockedOnNBA. Download the app, use the code LockedOnNBA, all lowercase. You get a first deposit match up to $100. So it's very simple. You go to your app store, Google Play, or the App Store on Apple, download it, use the code LockedOnNBA. You get a first deposit match up to $100. So check it out. It's fun. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. I'll be on Locked On NBA for the Wednesday show, so I'll be watching the Knicks. I'll be watching the Nuggets, and we'll be talking about that. Me and Jake Madison talking about that. So get my takes on that after you listen to Locked On Celtics. So before the game, Joe Mazzulla and I had not an exchange necessarily. So Jayson Tatum has been saying human nature. Celtics have to avoid human nature because, sometimes situations like this, Donovan Mitchell's out, human nature tells you, this is going to be easy. You let down just a little bit. And first of all, I think it's easy for people to say, oh, they let down. And we think that they come out and they're like just loosey and casual and they just don't care. That's not true. You can come out and just let your guard down a tiny, tiny bit. And that's all it takes, right? You're just not quite sharp. And the other team senses that. The other team has NBA players. They have good NBA players, right? Darius Garland is good. He's not playing great. He hasn't had the best season in the world, but he's good. Karis LeVert is good. Max Strus is good, right? Evan Mobley is good. Those guys are good basketball players. Now, maybe they're not where they should be or want to be, but they're still good. And so it doesn't take much. And it's that human nature that Tatum especially keeps talking about. But it goes back to Brad Stevens. I think Brad Stevens is the first person that might have brought up the whole human nature thing. And since then, it's just been a topic or go-to in the answers. So I asked Joe before the game, how do you fight the human nature, right? If human nature is what it is, how do you fight that in the situation where you might let down? And his answer was very simple. Don't be human. Be different. And it's just a perfectly Joe Mazzulla answer because I think he believes he can do that. Like he believes he himself can do that and not be quote unquote human. And then sometimes I believe that. But the fact of the matter is the Celtics are human. They are. They are not turning that part off. We've seen it over and over and over and over again. And they've said it over and over again. This team is full of just plain old, good old human beings. And that means that they're not going to shut off that thing. And I think we have to accept that. And we want them to be different so badly. And maybe if they win a championship, they'll be be able to grow up a little bit more, and maybe they'll be a little bit different. Maybe some of these moments are tense, and that, or maybe this is just this is who they are, and that's it. That's the end, period, full stop. This is who they are. And it's not about making them different. It's not about telling them don't be human, be different. It's telling them, okay, you're human. So how do you take that, process that, and understand in the moment, hey, we're doing that thing again, right? The number one way to fix an issue, a behavioral problem, is to admit that you have that problem. And the Celtics can admit, they have to admit, games like this, you can't come out as off as they did, passing the ball to whomever and the ball going out of bounds and having 6 turnovers for 10 points in the first quarter. Celtics led the first quarter 37-30. Imagine if they didn't turn it over 6 times for 10 points, right? What if it was just two times for 4 points, right? And those 6 points don't go on to the Cavs board. So that would be 24 instead of 30. And in 37, maybe that's 40. When you get one of those, maybe you convert one of those possessions. We're talking about 4 turnovers. Maybe one of them turns into a 3-pointer. Now you're looking at 40-24, right? So that right there is a huge difference, and the entire game goes differently. How do you fix that? How do you get that so you're not giving into the human nature? How do you recognize that? Is there a word? Is there a hypnosis? Is there something? You, the Celtics, have to embrace that. You, the listener, the viewer, I have to accept this is who they are. The Celtics are human. And instead of believing that they're different in a way that they aren't, we have to understand who they are and where they are actually different. Where are they different? How are they different? I've been saying forever that this team is different. Well, they have a different ending to the story. We want them to rewrite the entire script. They are just changing the ending. The first 2 acts of the script are the same, and it's just the final act that is different. That's what we have to wrap our heads around. Maybe the Celtics can find their way to rewriting something earlier in this whole thing, but they are still going through the same first 2 things. They're still going through human nature. We came out slow. Then we recovered, and then we had to find a way to shut the other team's water off. And now you get the fourth quarters that we're seeing here in this game. That's the difference. That's where they are different, because they did find their poise. They did find their defense to stop the Cavs and to hit a couple of huge shots. So they haven't played down to a ton of teams, but they're still doing it. And when they have, it hasn't been pretty, but they've won. And that part is different. And it, like I said in the last segment, we can sit there and people are going to say, but it's the Cavs. You can't get away with this against the Nuggets. Well, they probably won't try to get away with it against the Nuggets because they're not going to be up 20 on the Nuggets. Or even if they are up 20 on the Nuggets and they see Jokic out there, maybe they do attack differently, but they don't play down to the good teams. They play well against the good teams. So there's no carryover here. Now, if the Nuggets don't have Jokic, if he's out for a game, then yeah, they will potentially play down. Maybe the NBA Finals would be a different animal. Who knows? Got to get there first. But we, listening and watching, have to just understand. In these situations, yeah, you know what? It is going to be frustrating. Let's just get through the frustration. Let's get through that part. Let's see how it goes. Hopefully, it is like it was in this game where, yeah, it was ugly and gross and all of that stuff, and they still had a 5-point lead at halftime. So even after all that, they still had a lead. That's great. They never lost the lead. That's an important element here. They never lost the lead. So accept the fact that they are going to go through this stuff and embrace the fact that they're going to go through this stuff and wait for that moment, because that's where they are different. Find a way to pull through, and Payton Pritchard helped that. Jrue Holiday helped that. Jaylen and Jayson each hit big shots, and the defense stepped up. That's it. Can't ask them to be anything that they're not. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you are subscribed. If you're not subscribed, I will be back in Boston for Game 5, and hopefully not back in Cleveland for Game 6. Who knows? But I don't think so. I think this is going to be closed out in 5, and we can wait for New York or Indy to come through and go from there. So hope you subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, and I hope you're watching the show on YouTube and commenting in that comment section. Let me know. Hop into the discussion. Let me know what you think, and then share the podcast. Tell your friends. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.